video. We are back in the CD room here and highlighting the great Southern California punk band, the Descendents, and their kind of offshoot band called All. Their whole timeline can get very confusing because there's the two bands, the Descendents and All, and there's been a lot of lineup changes over the years. I don't know, maybe 10 years ago or so, there was a really, really good documentary made called Filmage that if you're interested in this band, if you've never seen it, I highly recommend you check it out. You should be able to find it streaming. It's pretty available. But I saw that in the movies and just really loved it. I became a fan of the Descendents probably in the early 90s. They weren't really on my radar, surprisingly, because I listened to like bands like Agent Orange and X and stuff from, Southern California, their peers. But I don't know how the Descendents kind of slipped past me until the 90s. But just going to run through their CDs I have. I'll maybe try to keep you updated on the different member lineup changes here and there. But it can get confusing. So the first thing I have is in 1981, they put out an EP called Fat. And in 1985, they put out a new version of that called Bonus Fat. And that's what we've got here. The Descendents were just this really kind of like power punk, I guess early on they kind of had a little bit more of like a kind of speed, like hardcore sound to them. And later on, they became a little bit more like they kind of created that pop punk sound that so many bands copy to this day. There you go. So in this version of the band, we have Milo, Bill, who were kind of the steady guys throughout all the changes. Frank and Tony are in this version of the band, and inside, surprisingly, still here, is this little catalog thing from SST Records to buy some merch and records and all of that. But on this one, the tracks that I like are I Like Food, Hey Hey, Ride the Wild, and It's a Hectic World. And those last two have a very kind of like almost 60s kind of pop sounding. The other ones are kind of like these kind of really fast punk songs. And those two suddenly come on and it almost sounds like these 60 pop songs. So that is Bonus Fat. Next up was their full-length debut, kind of the album that's considered the classic when people think of the Descendents, and that is Milo Goes to College. Just a seminal punk album, never mind just from their catalog, just in the whole genre together. Frank and Tony are still in the band at this point. There's my ticket stub for when I went and saw the film. Saw it on October 1st, 2013 at the Showroom Cinema in Asbury Park. But this is just a classic album full of some great tunes. A lot of these Descendants albums you don't find too much as far as liner notes in the booklet. Henceforth, this one is just an insert. I don't know if this has ever been reissued. I don't think their catalog's ever been reissued. None of it's been out of print or anything, so I don't know that there's any need to reissue any of these, but it'd be kind of cool to get some of these with like some bonus tracks or nice liner notes written. But on here you got I'm Not a Loser, Parents, Suburban Home, Kabuki Girl, Marriage, Hope, Bikeage, and Gene is Dead. Bikeage is one of my favorite songs of all time by the band. So following up that one, we get I Don't Want to Grow Up. There we go. This one is from 85. Another great album by them. There was a big gap from 82, Milo Goes to College, to I Don't Want to Grow Up, because Milo really did go to college. They put the band on hold, and Bill, I think, went and played with Black Flag at that time. Like I said, watch that documentary, you'll get the whole thing. But now in this version of the band, Frank is gone, and we still have Bill, Milo, and Tony here. Some lyrics. But another solid punk album by the band. We got my favorite tracks on here being I Don't Want to Grow Up, No FB, Can't Go Back, GCF, My World, Silly Girl, and the song Theme, which is just an instrumental. They've done a few of those, not a lot, but yeah, really cool album. Really like this one. Next up, we get from 1986, Enjoy. And the interesting thing about this album is the track listing on the back doesn't match the names of the songs. I don't know why they did that. Now you've got some new members, Doug and Ray, in the album. There's the cover inside. But yeah, like I mentioned, the track listing on the back of the album, I don't know what, I didn't read up on. I don't know what the goof was. You know, the Descendents, I think a lot of people may remember them. They kind of had this sort of like what you might call bathroom humor. They're very, very obsessed with farting. And it goes through their catalog, even to this day. Some of these titles that are on the back here almost seem like it's kind of like some bathroomish humor. But the tracks on here that I like are Wendy, Sour Grapes, Get the Time, and Cheer is another one. I gotta look up as to what the whole deal is with the album tracks. I don't know why I'm going on and on about that. Who cares? So then in 1987, we get what I guess you'd consider the classic lineup that carries on to this day. Carl and Steven joined the band for the album All. All, if you're familiar with the band, is kind of this like religion that they follow. You know, I think they kind of go into details about the whole, what that exactly is. But this is where it kind of comes into play. But really cool album, another really good one. I have most of these on vinyl as well. I picked a lot of these up on vinyl, but on this one, tracks that I like are Coolidge, Van, Camage, Clean Sheets, and Pep Talk. And you'll notice they add like edge to a lot of songs, hence the documentary Filmage. You know, you got Coolidge, Camage, it goes on and on. That kind of carries through all their albums as well. So that's All. Band goes on another hiatus. They take them here and there quite a while. They come back in 96 with Everything Sucks. In my opinion, best album that they have. I know a lot of people will argue Milo Goes to College. This is my favorite one. Their kind of songs kind of slide a little bit more towards what you would consider pop punk. But I mean, these guys sort of like wrote the book on that sound. All these bands nowadays that have this pop punk sound, you know, Green Day, Blink-182, etc., regardless of what you think of those bands, there's no question every single one of them were fans of the Descendents. You can hear it. I mean, it's basically sounds like what they're trying to do is sound like the Descendents. But I love this record. I bought it when it came out, listened to it like nonstop, and just love it. There's the inside, little pictures. This little character I didn't mention is like their kind of mascot. It's supposed to be Milo. It's a little drawing one of their friends did. They use it on everything, as you've seen. But on this, you have Everything Sucks, I'm the One, Rotting Out, Sick of Me, When I Get Old, She Loves Me, Hateful Notebook, This Place, I Won't Let Me, and Thank You, which ends the album, which I love that song. Thank You is maybe my second favorite song by the band. And yeah, just love this record. So guess what? The band goes on hiatus again for a little while. 2004, they come back with Cool to Be You. And maybe a little bit on Everything Sucks, but certainly on Cool to Be You, you start getting a little bit, the topics get a little bit more mature. There's still some bathroom humor or whatever you want to call it in there, but you know, the songs are starting to sound a little bit more mature, kind of dealing with whatever, you know, being an adult a little more than the earlier stuff, which had a very much a sound of, you know, like teen angst or whatever. But another cool record. Let's Folds out like that. Got the lyrics and stuff. But yeah, just another really solid band. Again, a lot more of that kind of polished pop punk sound to it. There's a ticket stub here on the back. I saw them at Roseland in 2011 in New York. Tracks on here that I really like: Talking, Nothing With You, American, Cool to Be You, Mass Nerder, One More Day, Tack, Anchor Grill, and Dry Spell. Just an awesome record by the band. They take another bit of a break and return in 2016 with the album Hypercaphium Spazonate. And this one, there were two versions of it. I had both versions at one time. The original version came in a digipack and the cover was like glow in the dark. I subsequently picked up a copy in the jewel case, but the digipack copy actually came with an EP, which I will show you the little booklet called Spaz Hazard. And so you got like this bonus EP in the album. So I picked it up for that. But pretty good record, you know, not a bad return for the band. Now we get a little bit thicker of a booklet here. You know, Milo was working, I think, as like a biochemist or something at this point in his life, and would return to the band whenever he had some free time. So that's where these gaps sort of happen. But I saw them in 2016 in Pozo, California. There's a ticket stub back there. The tracks that I like are On Paper, Shameless Halo, No Fat Burger, Without Love, Smile, Fighting Myself, Spineless and Scarlet Red, and Comeback Kid. When I first got this album, I think I was like a little lukewarm on it, but it's, you know, over the years, I've kind of grown to really enjoy it. And then on Spaz Hazard, remember Spaz Hazard, the tracks on here that I like are Days of Desperation and Thinkin'. Pretty cool. I don't know why they didn't ever, I don't think they ever released Spaz Hazard like separately if you wanted to pick it up. But yeah, nice record there. Then their most recent release, 2021, bear with me people, we get Ninth and Walnut. So these tracks on here were from back in the early 80s when Frank and Tony were in the band, and the band, I guess, had them recorded because Frank had passed away, and I guess maybe Milo and Bill went in and cleaned them up. I don't know if they re-recorded some stuff. Maybe they re-recorded some vocals. I'm not really sure. But that's what you get here, some older songs that they put out. I guess kind of, you know, a little bit celebrating Frank since he had passed away. The bummer is that the booklet, being that there's this kind of history to these tracks, all you get are the lyrics. It would have really been cool to have some like liner notes in here kind of explaining what the history behind this project and where these tracks came from, etc., etc. But for some reason they didn't do that. But yeah, it's pretty good. Tracks on here that I really like are Sailor's Choice, Crepe Suzette, Lullaby, Nightage, I'm Shaky, Mohicans, To Remember, and they do the cover of Glad All Over. And then there's two of the tracks, It's a Hectic World and Ride the Wild, were on, I think, the bonus Fat CD. So these are different versions though, but yeah, so pretty good. So that's all the Descendents CDs I have. There's some like a best of or something like that, and some other EPs, and there's like a one or two live records that came out, but that's all I have for them. So then, like I mentioned, during some of these breaks in the Descendents you know, work schedule or time together, the other band members, Carl, Steven, and Bill, formed the band All, that had multiple singers over the course of their time. I think the Descendents are fairly active now, like especially with touring. So I don't know the last time All played together, but they sporadically play as well. So the only thing I have by All from 1998, I believe, is this compilation, this best of just called All. And really good, you know. I mean, it sounds a lot like the Descendents, just with different singers, but even the singers that they have sound a bit like Milo, to be quite honest. And this booklet got a whole bunch of stuff in this. But again, it's just that kind of like pop punk sort of sound. Very similar to the Descendents. And I remember, now the funny thing is, like I mentioned, Descendents were kind of not on my radar until like the early 90s, whereas All, I do remember the song She's My Ex getting a lot of airplay on like alternative radio and stuff, maybe even on MTV. I don't remember the video very clearly, but I do remember She's My Ex, hearing that a lot. But the tracks on here that I dig are Crazy, Skin Deep, She's My Ex, Shreen, Pretty Little Girl, Breaking Up, and Mary. But really good compilation by All. So that is my collection of Descendents and one of All. If you're familiar with them, let me know what you think. If you've seen them live, especially in the 80s, I'd love to hear how that show was. Every time I've seen them live, they've been great. But check out that documentary, Filmage. And thanks for tuning in, y'all. See you later.